All right, continuing on with Chad here. So in the previous clip, he quoted First Peter 3:15 and said that we have to be ready with an answer. And I made the point that he's mixing two concepts. One is the true gospel, and one is this false alarm that continues to be wrong that Jesus is coming soon. And he's putting those two together as both things that we should be preaching to our unbelieving family and friends.
But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. So during
Okay, so meekness and fear, Chad. So I have pointed out to you a number of times where you're wrong. I'm not being mean. I'm just pointing it out. Hey, Chad, you don't know when Jesus is coming back. Nobody does. It's clear that you don't because you've been wrong for years. And you know what you do? You don't act in meekness and fear. You just block me from your videos. That's not meekness and fear. You guys don't have any meekness and fear. If you actually had meekness and fear, you would pay attention to what's going on around you and say, you know what? I've said this before. I've said 18 times in the last 2 years that this thing in the news is the end of time as we know it, and Jesus is coming soon. And I was wrong. So maybe I should have a little more fear and meekness in what I say, and stop being so bold in it. Quit being so bold in things you don't know anything about, Chad. The other thing is, again, notice how he's going to mix the true gospel with the false gospel, and it's the gospel of getting out of here. Here's the gospel they preach that's false. Ready? Jesus is coming soon. We are the generation. Get saved now, otherwise you'll be left behind to endure 7 years of hell on earth. That is not the gospel. Zero people have been left behind to endure 7 years of hell on earth. Zero. Billions have died in their sins. All will face God at the judgment and give an account. And many will not go into eternal life, but instead to eternal death in the lake of fire. But Jesus, death on the cross and his blood, can make you righteous before God so you will inherit everlasting life. That is the gospel. 7 years of hell on earth does not compare to eternity in hell. Does it? Everlasting life does not compare to anything. So, guys, you don't preach a gospel of getting out of here and just in time for Jesus to start smacking Israel around. That's not the gospel.
during this video, again, grab a pen and paper and write down what I'm going to share with you, the scriptures and some of the stuff I'm going to share with you, so that way when your family and your friends ask you, where is the promise of his coming? Every generation has been saying this, that you can have answers to give them. Because we're called to do that, guys. We're called to study to show ourselves approved, to rightly divide the word of truth. But again, if you're not a believer, all right, and you're saying, what are these wackos talking about? They're talking about Jesus Christ is the only way to the kingdom of heaven. Jesus Christ is coming soon. Every generation's been saying this. How can we know that we are the generation?
See how we just mixed the two together? You're preaching that Jesus is the only way to heaven and that he's coming soon. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove to you what to say to them, Chad says, to prove he's coming soon. Chad, we're going to be wrong about I can show you where you're wrong from here on out in your video. I can show you how this can be shot down in a heartbeat. There is no proof. There is no proof of any of this. You know what's going to happen is you're going to be proven wrong, and then those unsaved friends of mine are going to say, if you were wrong about all this stuff over here, why should I believe you about Jesus is the only way? Does it ring in your head, Chad? Is it between your ears at all that if you tell people a falsehood enough times and you keep being proven wrong, not just speculating wrong, proven wrong, because you are still sitting in your car in a parking lot doing these videos 8 years later, proven wrong, Chad. There's no arguing. Make no mistake, Chad. You have been wrong. And you're proving yourself wrong in public, on the internet, in videos to the world. Tell me how that doesn't damage your truth that you tell about the gospel. Do you think lying to people essentially is helping the gospel? Does the world need to be told hype and speculative lies all the time to get them all juiced up about the gospel? Then you feed them that, and then they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, that's the truth. This was a lie, but this is true. Is that really what we should be doing? I think I've gone on long enough about that.
Well, that's what I'm going to go over in this video. So let's get started. Well, first things first, when you read the Holy Bible, it tells you that you will know when Jesus is at the door. It says in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape."
Yeah, this here, Chad, I'm sorry, it says exactly the opposite of what you just claimed. Paul says, you have no need that I write unto you. Why? Because you know very well, you know perfectly, that the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night. What does thief in the night mean? That you're going to know what time he comes? Of course not. Of course not. A thief in the night, the reference is, basically any human being can figure that out. He comes without you expecting it. So Paul is saying there's no point in talking about the times and the seasons because he's going to come suddenly without warning and no one's going to know anyway. So what's the point of talking about it? So essentially, Chad, you just quoted a verse to back yourself up that we can know when the actual verse proves that you shouldn't be sitting in your car making all these speculative videos. Okay, so now he's going to go ahead and twist the rest of the verse. So he says, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. Yeah, because they thought they were in peace and safety. They thought it was all good. That's what this is talking about, by the way. They all think it's good. Because otherwise, what does sudden destruction mean? You can't have sudden destruction coming upon someone like a surprise, like a thief in the night, if they already are expecting it. So they're obviously complacent, sitting in peace and safety and quiet, and then bam, suddenly it comes upon them as travail. It's serious. It's horrible, like a woman with child. They shall not escape. That's referencing, the days of Noah and Lot. They could not escape the judgment because it came suddenly when they were living their lives like normal. So, Chad, no, this entire thing proves nobody's going to know anything and it's going to smack them in the head.
"But ye, brethren," listen to what it says, "but ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of the light and the children of the day."
Yeah, because in your view, we're going to be raptured. So it's not going to affect us either way. See, we already know the Lord. He's not coming on us like a thief. He's not going to judge us. He's not going to destroy. He's going to take us. So that again doesn't have anything to do with looking around. Paul is saying essentially this. And I'm, by the way, I don't believe any of this is a future thing. I believe Paul is talking about the first century destruction of Jerusalem and the end of the old covenant age. It's all through the New Testament. That's what it's talking about. I'm gonna pretend like I agree with the pre-trib rapture, and so I'm gonna use Chad's own viewpoint against him. Paul is clearly saying throughout this chapter, brethren, there's no point in talking about times and seasons, signs and speculations about what's going on, because you know perfectly the day of the Lord comes like a thief. He's going to come suddenly and destroy those who are not expecting him. However, brethren, you are in the light, so it's not going to come upon you like that. He's going to rapture you. So if you're in the world and don't know Christ, you're going to be taken by surprise because you're in the dark. And if you do know Christ, you're not going to be taken by surprise because you're in the light. He doesn't say one word here about looking at the news. You know what he does say? Watch and be sober. Um, put on the breastplate of faith and love and the hope of salvation. Now, you guys might say, well, watching, that means watching the news and speculating about when Jesus is coming back. Nah, I don't think so, guys. Watching and being sober is a concept around, uh, not, not, watching your doctrine and not falling into sin and temptation, but rather being alert and we're supposed to, the older brethren watch for the souls of the younger brethren, it says. In other places, the whole concept of watching is about being on guard. Don't let temptation overtake you. Guard your heart. Guard the doctrine that you've been taught. Watch for people. Be careful. Don't fall into sin. All those things are concepts throughout the New Testament in terms of watching. And regardless, the concept of watching isn't, okay, now what you see happening around you, try to fit that into the Bible prophecy, and then get on YouTube and tell everybody Jesus is coming soon because I have decided based on what I see that he's coming soon. That's not watching. That's taking it to another dimension altogether and getting into areas we don't understand.
We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us, who are of the day, be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love. And
I want to ask Chad this question. I guarantee you won't answer. Hey, Chad, I don't watch the news and speculate about when Jesus is coming, and I don't get on YouTube and tell other people he's coming soon based on the news. Am I drunk? And am I sleeping? I've had people tell me this, you need to wake up, man. If you don't see the signs of the times, you're just in denial. You need to wake up, man. Okay, come on over to my house and say that to my face. Get off your protection of the internet. Come on over to my house and you look me in the eye, Chad, and you look at my family and what I'm doing in my church and what I'm doing in my community and what I'm doing with my business and what I'm doing with my friends okay, come on over here and observe my entire life, Chad, and then you tell me that I'm drunk and asleep. Go ahead. I dare you to do that. Not because I'm, threatening you. I'll give you a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever you want. We can talk about it. I'd love to. What I'm saying, Chad, is it's really easy to get on the web and make all kinds of blanket statements to people. Hey, if you don't agree with what Chad says about the news, you're a drunkard. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. So you guys got to watch yourself. You need to watch. And by watching, I don't mean staring up at the sky and speculating. I mean, watch your doctrine and the impact it's having on the world around you. And I'll have more later. Thanks.